Sisters in Crime. Today, the host becomes the hosted. So I'm Mindy Quigley, and I'm here today hosting Julie Hennrikus, our intrepid executive director. And we are going to today have a slightly unusual one. Often we reserve these Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time Instagram lives to talk about some aspect of the craft or business of writing. But we have a very niche topic today, very close to home. Julie, would you like to introduce it?
Sure. I want to first of all thank Mindy for being, the co-host of these Instagram lives and taking them over and reaching out to folks and everything else. Sisters in Crime runs on volunteers, and we are so blessed to have an amazing group of volunteers. So I'm delighted to be here and seeing you, and I'm delighted to be seeing Mindy as well. So today we're just going to do a fall preview for Sisters in Crime because we have a lot going on and things that some of you may know about, things that you don't, and things to mark your calendar. So we thought we would start, just let you know what's coming up.
There was actually something that I did not realize, which is that the board transitions sooner than I thought.
Yeah, so Sisters in Crime, it's interesting. Those of you who worked in nonprofits, it's different times for different transitions and everything else. We do a board turnover on October 1st. So this board last meeting is in September. We actually have the new board joining us. This year, we will be saying goodbye to two amazing board members. Jen Collins-Moore, who's been serving on the education committee, will be leaving us, and Tracy DeHaan will be leaving us. Tracy was the first membership liaison that Sisters in Crime had, and then she segued from there into being getting into the presidential route. So she's went to vice president, then president. This year, she's the immediate past president. She has promised that she will keep volunteering for the education committee, so she can't quit us. But those two folks, so grateful for their service. I'm so grateful that everyone else is staying, and that we've got three new people coming on board. And the elections will start this week, and they'll go through the Tuesday after Labor Day. So Sisters in Crime is the best board in the business, and I'm just looking forward to working with everyone next year.
Yeah, and Tracy was actually the one who roped me into this because she said, just go to a communications committee meeting, kind of like see what the needs are. And I was a little worried. I have served on nonprofit boards before, and it's easy to get in over your head very quickly. But I think Sisters in Crime often does a really good job of kind of seeing what the members' interests might be and where their talents might lie, and then slotting them into something. And this was a role that didn't really exist previously. So we've kind of just carved these out recently. So that's another thing, that you don't necessarily have to do something that's already being done. If you have a vision and you want to, take up the reins and execute it, there are those openings. And there's so much scope on the board. There's library liaison, membership liaison, DEIJ liaison. What other kinds of board things are available out there?
We've got membership, communications and marketing, education, which is programming, also includes grants. So Mia Monticello is going to continue to oversee the grants. Kia Dennis is being joined by a second a new, it's not official to the election happens, but she and Becky Sue Epstein will be doing the education and programming. All of these committees also have a ton of volunteers. And I'm just going to do a pitch, Mindy, for volunteering. It is such a great way to meet people, to sort of become involved, to sort of build your community. I know that you are also volunteering for Bouchercon 2027, which will be in Washington, D.C. We were talking about this before we went live. You're going to be helping wrangle volunteers, which is not a small thing, with the aforementioned Tracy DeHaan. But, whatever, if you're going to a conference, volunteer to be on the check-in table for an hour, especially if you don't know anyone. If you belong to a chapter, volunteer to help with an event. It's a great way to have something to do, which is an easier way to meet people. So please volunteer. And boards, chapter boards need volunteers to serve on the board. don't talk yourself out of it. It's, you don't have to know everything to be on the board. As Mindy said, you just ask questions and figure out where you're working best, but show up and people will tell you what to do.
Yeah, it's been so rewarding. Second that, third that, fourth that. Speaking of the education committee, can you talk a little bit about upcoming webinars and our SinC into Great Writing initiative?
Yes, we have at least 2 webinars a month, sometimes more. And in September, we've got 2 coming up. We're doing a Reading Like a Writer for Lisa Crone's Story Genius, and we're just putting that panel together now. That's a member-only event. And then we have a webinar on working with libraries and librarians and some tips for authors to just understand how that works. So sometimes we do very niche things, as both of those are. But on October 3rd, we have SinC into Great Writing, just in case the incoming president doesn't have enough to do. They plan the fall SinC into Great Writing, which is a way for them to introduce themselves to the community. Deborah H. Goldstein is the incoming president of Sisters in Crime. A lot of people already know Deborah. She's been in the community for a long time, served on the Sisters in Crime board years ago. Actually, she and I served together. She belongs to 5 chapters. She was the president of the Guppies for a while, so she's known in the community. But she decided, and SinC into Great Writing is a 3-part event. It's usually 3 hours or 4 hours, so it's a bigger workshop. As always, it's recorded, so members will be able to watch it in the webinar library afterwards. But Deborah decided to focus on humor for the entire day. So it's 3 different panels about humor in cozies, humor in other genres, and then Raquel Reyes, who is the current president, she will be an immediate past president in October, is going to be doing an interview with Chris Grappenstein about humor in children's fiction, although his CPAC books made me smile too. So it's about making him laugh. The whole day is about making people laugh. And I think that's hard to do, but a great topic. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then we have other webinars that are already up. If you're interested in art thieves and how that works, we have the head of security for the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. He's going to be doing a presentation. We have got all kinds of different things this fall, and we're starting to book into next year. So it's an exciting time. If you're a member of Sisters in Crime, all webinars are free. If you're not a member, it's $15 per webinar. So
I feel like we're doing one of those PBS telethons, but I'm going to stop here and just tell people what an amazing value this is, because it's basically like a full day's worth of programming. If you went to an event like this, that it was some kind of workshop or all-day craft workshop, say, on writing with humor, or any of this huge number of webinars that we have in our webinar library, $60 for the year for membership. Yeah. You would pay that and more in a day, for just one of these programs. And we have not only the ones that are upcoming, but all this huge archive and library of resources that are, you can search and find tailored information for exactly what you're looking for. I cannot really imagine a better use of $60 for an aspiring crime writer or someone who's looking to hone their craft.
Or somebody who's mid-career needs to, move into a different genre, or needs to, requery or do anything.
Oh my gosh, I use it all the time. Yeah, I use it all the time.
Right. And that's the beauty of the webinar library, is you can watch editing videos every time you take on an editing project, learn something new, and it just helps you reframe things. So it's a really great almost
marketing events, all of these. It's so great.
Exactly. And some deep dives. We did one on true crime last weekend, and we've done other forensics. We've got a forensic webinar coming up this fall. So, sometimes it's very specific crime, but most of the time it's about writing. So, you can, again, deep dive into the webinar library.
Yes, absolutely. And let's talk about podcast guests. So you mentioned a couple of experts on different topics that are going to be in webinars, but talk about how the podcast is a little bit different.
The podcast is different. It's a conversation about writing with some of our amazing Sisters in Crime members. We have 4,000 plus members, so there's a lot of people in Sisters in Crime. And I'm delighted that I'm the host and that I get to do this. It's my favorite part of my job because I always learn something. I'm always inspired. I talk to people who are debuts, to people who have incredibly established and long-running careers. To a person, they're generous and they talk about things. And my key underline is always, there's no one way to do this. So if anyone tells you have to do this, you have to do that, listen to a couple of podcasts and you're going to realize everyone does it different. And I love geeking out and finding out, do you write Word? What else do you do? Do you write it? Are you a plotter? What? So, and I love how people talk about their writing and how it's changed. So we have some wonderful guests coming up. It's a weekly podcast. We just released episode 268. So we're coming up on 300. And as I said, I love having these conversations with folks. It's available wherever podcasts are, wherever you can get your podcasts. It's also on YouTube and it's also on our website.
I was a guest years ago, and I would love to go back and listen to it just because what you talk about process changing. That I have a feeling that I would listen to that and be like, oh, so naive, because I have changed my process so much, and I know I have a better sense now of exactly what you were saying, that this is something that's not a static thing. Nobody does it the same way as another writer, and nobody even does it the same way as their past self. So
that's right. Yeah. And sometimes you have to change it up because you get stuck. I mean, getting stuck, and writing is hard work. Writing is hard work. You get stuck. So figure out how to get unstuck. And what a great way to do it is to listen to how some folks do that.
Yes, very inspiring. And speaking of getting like words on the page and tools for motivation, we have our November marathon. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. 3 times a year, Sisters in Crime hosts big, large sprints. So every single week on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, we have write-ins. A write-in is magic. And when I first heard about it, I thought, what? But I'm actually a convert. It's when you get on a webinar. So you would see, say Mindy was hosting, you just see her, but in the chat, you'd see everyone else was there. You write for 25 minutes. Everyone takes a break, and then you write for 25 minutes again. In the meantime, before and during the breaks and afterwards, you check in with people and you build community. It's an incredibly effective way to get it's an appointed time. You have people cheering you on. You sort of feel compelled to write because that's why you're there. And so on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, we host regular write-ins and talk about an amazing group of volunteers. I mean, amazing group of volunteers who just pull this off. We just did the Summer Scrawl in July, which was 31 days of at least 5, on Friday 6 write-ins a day for the entire month of July. We're going to do it in November. So the Summer Scrawl and the November Marathon are both member-only events. Again, it's part of membership when you join. It's the November Marathon started back with NaNoWriMo, as folks remember that. But instead of having a 50,000 word goal or anything like that, we let people create their own goals. So it can be how many sessions you write, how many words you write, hours a day, whatever you want to set for a goal for yourself, and push it a little bit, just sort of say, okay, I'm going to write a half hour a day, 7 days a week, and that may be a stretch for you, or that could be easy to do, and you may change your goal in between. It's not the goal of the November Marathon isn't to sort of, reach something with blood, sweat, and tears. It's to motivate yourself to keep writing, or to get unstuck, or to tackle that new project, or to edit that book, or whatever is looming over you. Because 94% of people who say they want to write a book don't finish that first book.
I'm
Sisters,
actually surprised it's only 94%
I know.
based on conversations that I've had. I mean, there are a lot of people out there who want to write a book who just can't seem to pull it together to get that draft down.
Right. And and as you said, it's hard work, but boy, we would love to help you get that achievement unlocked, right? I mean, this
Yeah.
is, if this is on your bucket list, being a writer and being a published author are two different journeys. Sisters in Crime can help you with both. But being a writer, this is one way to sort of dive in, meet folks, build community, and say, all right, I mean, I'm going to get this done. Because if you write 500 words a day, in 2 or 3 months, you're going to have a draft. It's going to be terrible, but you're going to have a draft and you can fix a draft. So let us help you reach that goal, especially if it's a bucket list dream. Like, don't let it go off the list.
Yes, absolutely. And last but not least, speaking of building community, let's talk about actual in-person, three-dimensional community that is going to be taking place at Bouchercon in October.
Yeah, so the crime writing community has several really wonderful conferences over the years. Killer Nashville was last week, and Crime Bake is coming up in November. There's a lot going on. Left Coast Crime, Mouse Domestic were earlier this year. But Bouchercon is the largest conference in the world, and it changes locations every year. So it's kind of a great way to also have a vacation or see a new place. So as I mentioned, in 2027, Bouchercon is going to be in Washington, D.C. It's open for registration now. But in 2026, it's going to be in Calgary, Canada. And so Sisters in Crime sponsors some conferences in different ways. And we're sponsoring this conference in a couple of different ways. One is that we are sponsoring the Underrepresented Voices reception. And what that means is Crime Writers of Color is actually organizing this whole thing. We're just helping where we can. We're going to create a bingo card with all the voices, all the authors who are in the room. You can go around, you can have people sign the bingo card, and the minute you get 3 bingos, you throw it into a hat, and at the end of the night, we're going to pull names out of the hat and have door prizes of books. But it's also a way to just build up your reading list, meet people, because one of the goals is Rob Osler created this challenge for people, and he talked about it at when he won an award a couple of years ago. Make every 5th book something different for you. Make every 5th book a different genre or a different point of view or a richer experience. And that can also mean be intentional. I'm going to read a book by a Black author. I'm going to read an LGBTQIA plus detective story. I'm going to read this book that has a different life experience. I'm going to read this cozy that's set in a place that I don't know anything about or has a cultural aspect to it that is unfamiliar to me. Because this is how we grow and we learn and we also enjoy. And it's so important for us all. So that's part of what we're doing. Sisters in Crime will also be there sitting at a table. You'll get to meet me. And we're there. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, from 11 to 3 every day, and around. And then on Wednesday night, at 8 o'clock, we will be hosting a reception for our members. There will be cake. There will also be a bar and coffee because, these are the trifecta of things to help writers write. But it's also a great opportunity for new folks, especially people who have never attended a conference or might be there alone. Come to the meetup and meet other people, and you'll all of a sudden know other people at the conference. Because
I was going to mention that's something that's if you've ever walked into a room where no one, and that's a very daunting feeling, especially at a huge conference like Bouchercon. Having that Sisters in Crime table as a touch point, because there are usually a few people gathered around there, both people maybe from the board or a committee, but then also just other members of Sisters in Crime or people who are curious about joining and want to know more. And that's just a nice way to break down that huge thousands of people into just a very manageable group of people that have a like interest and you want to talk to. because, writers we're known as being a little awkward, a little introverted. So anything that we can do to help break that down.
Yeah, it's very, you're an outgoing person. I can play an outgoing person. But it is daunting when the first time you do anything. I remember the first time I went to a Sisters in Crime chapter meeting, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, like trying to talk myself into going in. It didn't help that it was at Hallie Efron's house, but I was like, what am I doing? I'm a fraud. I'm an imposter. And then you walk in and all of a sudden people are treating you like a writer and you're making lifelong friends. So conferences can be daunting if you're, again, come by and say hi and come to the reception and let us help you meet other people.
Yeah, let us know what's going on with you and where you are in your journey, what you're seeking, and we can help connect you with resources and people and all the rest of it to make that dream happen.
Yeah. And remember, you're a writer the minute you say, I'm a writer. And your published author is a different journey. And it's out of your control, a lot of it, and it's bumpy, but your writing career, you own. So don't be afraid to own that too. When I talk to people and I'll say, are you a writer? I can tell if they're a reader, because this is a reader conference. This is a fan conference. So lots of readers there. But if I'll say, are you a writer? And they pause for like 5 seconds, you probably have had this happen, Mindy. You were like, oh, you talk to me about this. What's going on? I know you want to write a book or you're working on something and you maybe haven't said it out loud. Say it out loud. Let us help you figure that out.
Yeah, this has been my full-time job for 2 years. And I would say only within the last couple of weeks, finally, people say, what do you do? And I say, I'm a writer. Gosh darn it. Because there is still that imposter syndrome, that fear.
And you have a new series coming out. I mean, this is what's so interesting. Successful first series, and now you have a new series coming out. And it's that sticking with it and going places you can't even imagine that you're going to be able to go because you're figuring it out. And you become a better writer the more you write, but you got to write to get better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Julie, it has been a delight to catch up with you and learn about all the exciting things coming up this fall. We talked earlier today about how we might try to do this once a season, once a quarter, something like that, just to kind of preview upcoming events and go through the menu of all the wonderful things that Sisters in Crime has to offer. So if this was helpful for you, please let us know in the comments, because that will encourage us to follow through with that. Exactly. And if there are other things that you would like to see in future Instagram lives, or you've got something that you think you could offer in an Instagram live, then by all means get in touch, because we're always looking for new topics and new guests.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And again, Mindy, thank you for all you do for Sisters in Crime.
And same to you, Julie. Congratulations on the big award that you're going to be receiving at Bouchercon in October.
Thank you. I'm honored. So hopefully we'll see people at Bouchercon. If not, we'll see you online.
All right. Bye.